Plain gradient descent has a frustrating habit. Drop it into a long, narrow valley, steep on the sides and nearly flat along the floor, and it bounces wildly back and forth across the walls while barely inching toward the bottom. It is like a hiker who forgets at every single step everything about the direction they were just heading. So what if the optimizer had a memory? What if it could build up speed and directions it keeps moving and shrug off the pointless side-to-side wobble? That one idea is momentum. It is baked into almost every optimizer you will ever use. Let's dig in. First, let's feel the difference momentum actually makes. Plain gradient descent decides its direction fresh at every point, using only the current gradient. In a narrow ravine, that is a disaster. It oscillates hard across the steep walls. The sideways steps nearly cancel out, and progress along the shallow floor slows to a painful crawl. It also stalls on flat spots, where the gradient goes almost silent. Momentum gives the optimizer mass. Instead of stepping on the current gradient alone, it accumulates a velocity from past gradients and moves with that. Consistent directions build up speed, the back and forth wobble averages away, and it coasts straight through small bumps and flat regions that would stall the plain method cold. Look, mechanically this is a small change to the update rule, but the effect is huge. Let's build it one piece at a time. Start with the current gradient computed exactly as before. On its own, plain gradient descent would just step along this and nothing else, forgetting every direction it has taken before this very moment. Now blend that gradient into a running velocity. We keep an exponential moving average of past gradients, decay by coefficient, usually around 0.9, and fold the new gradient into it. That velocity remembers where we have consistently been heading. Then step the weights using that velocity, not the raw gradient. So the update carries the accumulated history with it, and any direction the gradient keeps pointing toward gets reinforced step after step, building genuine speed. The result is exactly what we wanted. Along the consistent downhill direction, the velocity accumulates and accelerates, while the oscillations across the steep walls point opposite ways on successive steps and quietly cancel out. The optimizer stops fighting itself, and you get faster, smoother convergence toward the minimum. Strip it right back, and 3 ideas capture why momentum works so well. It accumulates a velocity from past gradients. Rather than trusting a single noisy gradient, it moves with a running average of recent ones, so the direction it travels reflects where the optimizer has genuinely been going, not just this one instant. It cancels oscillations and coasts through flat spots. Wobbles that point opposite ways on successive steps average toward 0, while a steady downhill push builds speed, so ravines and small bumps that stall plain descent barely slow it down. It adds a single extra knob, the momentum coefficient, which sets how much history to keep. Too high, and it overshoots the minimum and rings back and forth. Too low, and you barely feel any benefit at all. Nesterov momentum refines the idea further by looking ahead before it measures the gradient, correcting the step before overshooting. All right, let's lock in the essentials. Momentum accelerates gradient descent by accumulating a velocity from past gradients and stepping with that velocity instead of the current gradient alone. Picture a ball with mass rolling downhill. It builds speed in consistent directions and coasts through small bumps and flat regions that would stall plain descent. In narrow ravines, it cancels the wild oscillations across the steep walls and reinforces the shallow downhill direction, so it converges dramatically faster than plain descent ever could. A single decay coefficient, usually around 0.9, tunes how much history to keep, and momentum lives inside virtually every modern optimizer, Atom included. If you like watching these ideas roll into place, we have a whole shelf of them waiting over at standarity.com. Roll on in.